Hi there, and welcome to Strange Times Poetry Broadcast, coming to you live from the Poetry Bookshelf. If you haven't joined us before, um, this is a live show every night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and the idea is that I read three uplifting poems, one by a famous writer, one by a friend, and one by myself. Um, and if you would like to follow more episodes and join us for every night at 8, please like us on Facebook. Also, our archive is actually up on YouTube. Yay! So if you miss one or if it's easier for you to watch on YouTube, please feel free to look for our episodes there. Um, so tonight is Passover. And in keeping with that, um, my theme today is living on a prayer, also for Bon Jovi. Um, there are a lot of parallels between this time and Passover, and especially, working from within the Jewish community. We're hearing about this all the time. The plagues, this is the 11th plague. And I just think of the experience of, both the Egyptians and the Israelites, that during that time of plagues, during that time of sort of anticipating Exodus, there was a lot of unknown and a lot of loss, and of course, the plagues themselves. And it was sort of, there was this hope in the midst of all that difficulty and suffering that something really positive was coming and that there was sort of an end to this. There was an end point. Um, and so the poems that I brought tonight are about prayer, are about hope. The first poem that I'm going to read is by Kadya Molodowsky. She is a famous Yiddish poet. I'm be reading her in translation by Kathryn Hellerstein. And this book is from Wayne State University Press, and it's a translation of her collected works. In this poem, um, the speaker sort of remembers Elijah, one of the main characters from the Passover Seder. Elijah is a prophet who kind of shows up and saves the day, usually like hidden in a secret costume. And so it's like a stranger that will come up to you and provide just what you need in that moment. So in addition to being associated with, Passover, where he's said to show up and drink some wine at everybody's, festive meal, he also is somebody who brings hope when you most need it. And here's our poem. Now in the winter, I have a hankering for the clearness of nights just before Passover, and the mild warmth of thin silken rain, and for the shiny radiance of my girlhood dress. Perhaps Elijah is walking near here, and in passing lets a sweet word fall somewhere. I waited for him in the bright nights of my childhood, year in, year out by his cup, and I'm still hoping to meet him. If dark window panes kindle and brighten, and mute hearts rock themselves like a singing forest, I will put my face to the earth, because near here, perhaps Elijah will walk. I love the image of the speaker putting their ear to the ground to hear Elijah's footsteps and just to hear that hope coming of Elijah walking near. She's still hoping to meet him. All right. My next poem is Hagstrom by Neil Silberblatt. Neil is a huge organizer in the poetry community through his Voices of Poetry series, which is all over New England. Lots of poetry readings, bringing writers, appreciators of poetry together. And his most recent book is Past Imperfect. I've put the info in the description. And this poem, I would say, is one of those, finding hope and determination from ashes, from a difficult situation. In this case, the body shows is a map of the difficult things that have happened to it. And yet, there is still hope in the end that spring will come, that something good will come of all of this. Hagstrom. I examine my scarred torso as perusing a hagstrom, folded too many times and incorrectly, of a locale once familiar but no longer visited, since the neighborhood has changed, and not for the better. Here the lines converge, here they diverge. Here a piece of the map is missing where it was torn off, jagged edged from the procedure. I trace their contours as surveying a riverbed. There a stream can still be found. There it is dried up, algae bloom strangling new growth. They say that come spring it will flow clear again. Good. I am ready. I think on Passover, we're sort of trying to be ready for this exodus, for this connection with God, connection, moment of freedom. We don't know quite what it's going to be, and there was no way to know, but we're ready. All right, and my last poem, The Prayer Sign, um, is based on a beautiful piece of art, a reliquary in the Museum of Fine Arts that's just like an arm, but it's made out of tusk. It's probably medieval period, and it has a little door in the arm where a piece of a saint would be placed, and so the outstretched arm, holds this sort of mystical item in it that can be used for connection to the divine, for intercession by the saint on your behalf. The prayer sign. The tusk reliquary is a curved white arm, a hand raised. Above the elbow, a tiny doorway carved out where the holy object was placed. Maybe a saint's ulna or a finger, or maybe it was a tooth, and the arm just prayerful. Only a tooth itself, a prayer is born from sliced gray body, hungry for what it will grind into being. A pin in the ivory, a hinge for the arm to bend. So on this night, celebrating freedom, celebrating, hope and anticipation of the future, I hope we find that hinge for the arm to bend, to open. Thank you for joining me. Stay safe, stay sane, and good night.